guys are here. You guys were lost at first, but soon began sketching yourself a map of the world around you. Plotting contours of your life, welcome the world around you to a full color, full of life. Today's word is Onism, a noun with the meaning of awareness on how little of the world we actually get to experience. My name is Callie, and this is the Day in High Vortex podcast, here to show you insight on what goes on in the minds of Day and Body. Today's guests are Morrison and Jasmine Proffit. Alright, so our first question is, what is Onism? So like the first explorers, sooner or later you have to contend with the blank spaces on your map. All the experiences you've had, the part of you is still aching to know what's out there. Eventually these questions take on a weight of their own and begin looming over you everyday life. What would Onism mean to you?
Well, to be completely honest, when you sent me that we were going to do this podcast on it, I actually looked it up because I haven't really been familiar with the word or used it. But I think what the definition was kind of what I had in mind for it. Like I'd never heard the word or the definition, but kind of that, like you said, our experience is so limited to only what we've had and our own just one view of the world. And I think when I think about that I definitely think about how little I've actually experienced, and I think that I've probably experienced a lot more than most people have. But on a scale of the world, there's so many people, so many different experiences, cultures, etc. out there, and we really only have our one perspective of that.
I didn't really know what it meant until like 10 minutes ago. But yeah, I feel like I haven't really experienced everything that is out there, and I want to go experience a lot more when I get older. So
That's a fair enough response. In all honesty, Onism is just more of the concept of how you can portray what you see in life. It's more of what is going on around you that you could possibly do, but you're not doing as is. It's just knowing that there's so many other activities. Like if you were to say, oh, hey, I want to be a policeman, and you follow that career path, you would never know what it's like to be a professional chef. It's just the fact of trying different things but not being able to try everything. And as I'm all about positivity, but if I could take a look at the world like it was in my hand, that would be boring. There'd be nothing there. It'd be so small, so insignificant that it's just the fact of being here and being now is the ability to prosper what you have. Work with making a difference, no matter the time you have on this earth. Make each day count like it's your last. What's your thoughts on that process?
Well, I think as you were talking about that, I thought of being a police officer, a professional chef. They're obviously very different paths, and I think something that's very cool and unique about everyone is that we all have our different interests. So what is really cool to me is not going to be really cool to someone else, and so you have these interest groups that have developed almost naturally, and you're drawn to people that have those same interests, and your life develops around those interests. And while you may have a very narrow focus in comparison to all that's out there, I think that if we all liked everything, that would create a very boring world. So the fact that we all have unique interests and we're all drawn to these different things really give the world diversity. And it's like sometimes I think, because I'm really into mountain biking and I'm out on the trails, and I think, what if everybody liked to mountain bike? Well, that wouldn't be very cool, because then there would be so many people on the trails you couldn't even enjoy them. So as much as I would like more people to enjoy what I enjoy, it's also kind of a good thing that not everybody enjoys the exact same thing. So
can you repeat the question?
Making each day count like it's your last, and knowing how each thing makes each person. What's your opinion on that?
I think people should make each day count like it's their last. Yeah, I think they should make each day count like as if it's their last, because they could end up in a car crash and then be sitting on their deathbed regretting the things that they didn't get to do, that they had opportunities to do, but they decided not to do it. So
I think I totally didn't answer that question, but I think to add to that is when people say, oh, live every day like it's your last, I don't think that means that you have to be living every day like this extravagant, skydiving one day, climbing El Capitan the next. Like, I think really it's just, like I said, we all have our individual interests, and maybe you really just enjoy getting out of school and driving around with your friends and going and doing whatever it is, and I think really just capitalizing on those opportunities and doing all the things that you can do, and that way when you look back, kind of like a less harsher way, as instead of your last day that you're going to live, but more or less when you look back and be like, okay, well, my high school experience has come and gone. Did I do all the things that I think that I would get out of that experience? Because you only get one of those experiences. And I think what's hard sometimes for people is that maybe right now you're like, oh, I hate dances, I don't want to go to a dance, but then you graduate high school and you look back and you're like, man, I wish I would have at least just gone to prom. So I think for young people it's hard because you have this narrow vision of what experiences there are and what you enjoy, and I think that it evolves and changes as you grow up. And so I think doing things sometimes that you don't even think that you may like them, just trying to try those different things and not just be stuck on, oh, I only like sports, like I'm only going to do sports kind of thing.
Go outside the box.
Yeah, and I think that's why, actually I don't know if that's why, but I hope that's why they make in our curriculum that you have to take, at least one art class, one PE class, just so that you do kind of get forced into some of those experiences so that you can at least see if it's something that you like.
And are you guys aware of the collection of paradox?
No.
It's basically what it is it's not necessarily a collection, but a collection of people that have very different experiences put together as a paradox of information. And this information combines anything from being one thing to the next, which is why the quote from this that I've taken is, I wonder if our bodies are just shells trapping our souls. This just shows, like, no matter how many people are working, it's only one person on each piece of information. There's nothing that's just like, oh, yeah, well, I know this, and this person knows the exact same thing. Everyone knows a different piece of information. Everyone perceives something differently, which is, like, on change, per se. It's strange how little of the universe we actually get to see. It's strange how many assumptions we have to make just to get stuck in one body, one place at a time. And so however many excuses we end up making will show how much life belongs to the background. So how can we have the ability to change when yet we still don't reach out to take the change?
I think people really just don't like change. I think we are creatures of habit and routine, and I think that a lot of people, I would say that I live probably more of an adventurous life than most people, and I always kind of wonder, like, why do people not do anything on the weekend when they aren't working? Why do they stay home? And I think people get comfortable with their home space and what they know and what they like. I would say that most people eat at the same places. They don't try new places. Or if they do, it's like, wow, we're going to a new place for dinner tonight. Like, it's a big ordeal. So I think people like habit and routine and what they know. And whether it's a good change or a bad change, people are just very hesitant to change.
Yeah, to add on to that, I agree with that. My sister, she loves to stay home and just stay in her room. And I like going out. So we're like complete opposites from each other. And whenever we do go out, like shopping or something like that, she doesn't like staying out for long. And she gets grumpy. Yeah.
Fair enough. Like, I get that, like, all the time with, like, my family. It's always just, like, with a different thing, it's always, like, a different reaction from everyone. But a lot of people just lay waiting and hide scared of what will happen when they mix the unknown with the known. And as that seems crazy and seems impossible, nothing's impossible if you try with an optimistic mind. But as nothing is impossible, we take down our judgment on how scary the unknown can be. Because as humans have gone through history, humans have drawn monsters on the map because they're not scared of their presence, they're scared of what they may be guarding. And it's because we force ourselves down into that more secure option onto what we know, what we don't know, and it's more of just the change doesn't ever happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think on that, I was a pharmaceutical sales rep out of college, and I did that for 6 years, and I had a very good income. I had become very familiar with my territory, the doctors that I called on. Everything was working very smoothly. I had no financial concerns, and I had an opportunity to basically travel and race mountain bikes, and I decided to quit my pharmaceutical job. And it was a tough choice for me because I had all this security that I was basically leaving on my own will. And then also people around me would just say, why are you leaving? Like, you have the perfect job. Like, why would you leave that? So not only do you feel it internally, like you're scared to take that change, that step to something new, but also society and kind of the cultural perspective of everyone around you is also reinforcing that, like, well, why would you give that up? Why would you do something new? So I do understand that kind of guarding. I think security is what it comes down to.
Most definitely, it's just more of the knowing what is going to happen other than, oh yeah, I'm going to go try this exact thing and be like, oh, it's going to go exactly this. You don't do that. Like, you try something new, you're not going to know how it goes. And it's more of just, oh, I'm perfectly fine here. Like, it may be a little bit boring time to time, but I don't want to try anything new because I don't want to know that adventure. I don't want to know if that will be a good or bad change. And I don't frankly want to do anything that will be bad. So it's more of just living on the moment, which brings us to our next topic, which is forcing us to live small lives in small towns, while no one ever wants to move from those different comforts of normality. But if everyone's normal, what makes life worth being in? How do you define normal? Is it the change of pace or the change of style, or is it whoever changes out of the normal isn't normal? Because if you push yourself to not be normal, are you truly living like with no adventure?
I guess my interpretation of normal is what I would perceive myself as being the majority. So I guess I grew up in the Midwest, and the normal for me in the Midwest was you go to college, you find your spouse, you get married, you have kids. Well, actually before you get married or during that process, you would get a good job, get married, have kids, then raise a family. They'd play Little League or soccer, and that would be your life. So I am now 32, not married, and I don't have kids. So I did not follow the normal path, but in my mind that was normal. And so, throughout my 20s, I definitely had a lot of disassociation in my mind because I thought that's what I thought I would have 2 kids and a husband and be in a career that was very steady, and I kind of went a different route. I did get a career, but I haven't gotten married and I haven't had kids, and in that regard, so I feel like I broke out of the normal. But everybody's normal, so that was my childhood, and that's kind of the view of the world that I got. But somebody could grow up in a family that, maybe they had divorced parents or, a different situation where they didn't have that as the normal. And I think the West Coast, in my opinion, is a little bit more off of that traditional Midwest track of family. And so when I moved out to the West Coast of California, I all of a sudden had a lot of friends that weren't on that quote-unquote normal track. And so the idea of that being normal went further and further away. And the new normal was, hey, like, I'm going to work, but then I'm going to have all these hobbies that I go and do on the weekends, and friends were more of the focus versus family.
Yeah, I tend to perceive myself as normal, like bubbly people, because I'm usually a bubbly person at heart. And when they're not like really cheerful or bubbly like myself, and they their normal would be like quiet or something of the sort, I'd be like, oh, that's different. But
Yeah, that's a great perspective, just in personality differences.
yeah.
Yeah, like this morning when you called me, my brother and sister both woke up because you were so loud and just like energetic. They were like, "It's 7:00 in the morning. Why is she up like already?" And I was like, "That's her. She's up and about.
I
Always
was
happy,
late.
always cheer."
I was late.
I could tell. Yeah, I could tell because you actually called me, and I was like, "It's 7, Jasmine. You should have been at school already."
Yeah.
But with my personal experience on everything, I can't experience as much as I would like to, but with the way I'm going with is I like being there for other people. That's what makes me feel better and like happy, is being able to help others. Like, it doesn't matter how I'm feeling the day. If someone needs to call me, if it's 3:00 in the morning, I will answer, I will pick up. There's no like if, ands, or whatever. You know, I'm there for that person in that moment. And that's worked out pretty well, considering I've personally talked a few close friends out of suicide and all kinds of different things, and as much as that like has hurt, it's better feeling that I was someone that was able to talk, and that was basically just how that was going. But on to our final question. If we could see the endlessness of possibilities projected as one point to one person, is it the drive that we crave in order for success, or how would we be able to, if we were able to see that, how would you perceive what you would do? Would you change anything, or would you continue on the path you're on?
If I understand the question right, I wouldn't really want to see the end of like what I would be or do or become, because I think really that limits what you are. If you would have asked me 5 years ago if I would be a teacher, I would have said no. Like I had no thoughts yet of becoming a teacher. And I think the reason being is that as you go through these experiences, and hopefully, I mean, I think people experience different levels of new experiences. So I experienced a lot of new experiences, which led me to basically saying, hey, you know, I think actually teaching would be something I want to do. When I was kind of in the middle of the pharmaceutical career, I thought it would be also crazy if I left it, because, yeah, I was making good money, had amazing benefits, and to think that I was going to just stop and go racing mountain bikes would have seemed really childish to me at that time. So I don't think you can have an end picture of where you will end, because, or like a for sure end view of what it'll be like, because it would limit you along that process, because it's not linear. We take all these different avenues to end up where we finally do end up. So I think you have to experience all of those. I think it's important in your own mind to have an idea where you want to end up, but also be ready to take whatever comes your way, because I do think we change as people, and I think that you can totally change your direction if you want to.
Yeah, there's definitely an endless possibility of options and choices out there that you could do, and like a career choice. I've been sifting through about a dozen career choices this year, and I can't choose one because there's so many, but a lot of them don't catch my attention, like if I want to do them for a long time or not.
Well, I think it's really hard when you're in high school and you haven't had that many experiences, and so I think you really have to kind of just start somewhere is the most important part, and have an idea of like what your strengths and weaknesses are, but don't let any of those things limit you, and just start somewhere, and you'll eventually start finding things that interest you and motivate you, and then just be open to what comes along.
Yeah.
And with that being said, that my final statement is going to be, as you take your first steps and look around, you have to realize the world around you is much bigger than we believe. But if you were on your deathbed and you were asked what was it like to live on Earth, perhaps the only answer to that question would be, I don't know. I passed through it once, but I've never really been there. And I would like to thank you ladies for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course.